We are living in another epidemic. More victims than Corona. It's made me sicker than COVID, and I need your help to stop it. I'm, of course, talking about the forgotten cartoon epidemic. Cartoons with only one season. You know the ones I'm talking about. The ones that you search for and you can't find on any subscription, any streaming service. One of my long-term goals with this channel is to shed some light on these forgotten cartoons. So today we're going to be talking about Cartoon Network's forgotten cartoons. The first one I want to talk about is Generator X. Now, Generator X is extremely underrated. Unfortunately, it's on literally no streaming service. Somehow when HBO Max first came out, they didn't even have Generator X when they added all the Cartoon Network cartoons. It's honestly criminal that they didn't add that. And Generator X is not the only one. If you don't know what Generator X is, it follows a teenager who can make different mechanical builds out of his body. After the nanite event that affected the whole world, everyone was infected with the nanites, including Rex. But what he could do is make these builds, and they affected everyone else. Some people have nothing wrong with them. Some people turn into monsters, basically. And Rex has the ability to heal them. Unfortunately, this show is still not on any streaming service. You either have to buy it or illegally stream it. If you haven't seen it, I highly suggest you do that. There's 3 seasons. There's this one episode of Generator X where he really wants to impress this girl, bring her to the prom. So he uses his powers and makes his wiener into like a skyscraper. I'm just kidding. But I'd really like to see that. Also, one place you might have seen Generator X is he was in a crossover with Ben 10. So my Ben 10 fans out there, you probably know who he is. The best Cartoon Network crossover of all time. Alright, the next show I want to talk about is The Secret Saturdays. Again, this is a show where this wasn't added on HBO Max when they started to add all the Cartoon Network shows. And it's still on no streaming service. I don't even know if it's ever been on a streaming service. So again, you're either going to have to legally stream it or buy it. Again, the place you might have seen the show, if you've never seen it before, is also Ben 10. This is why he's my GOAT. This show is about a family who are cryptidologists who basically study cryptids. Cryptids are basically folklore, like the chupacabra and Bigfoot and those kind of creatures. And Zack Saturday, the main character, who is a young kid, can control and talk to them. In real life, when I ask a kid if he wants to go see Bigfoot with me, he usually doesn't want to, so I really like this show. The last show I want to talk about today is Symbionic Titan. Another show that HBO Max did not release when they started releasing all the Cartoon Network shows. And by the way, HBO Max has taken like all those shows off. It's unbelievable. Symbionic Titan is about 2 teenage aliens, one a princess and one her guard, who escape the planet because it's getting taken over by a dictator and go to Earth. They also have a robot named Octus. When they get to Earth, they enroll in school and just pretend to be normal kids. They both have mech suits, and when they go in those mech suits and form with Octus, they become the Symbionic Titan. Such a cool show. Only has 1 season, and it's not on anything. Now that we talked about the shows that I want to investigate, let's start our investigation. So it seems to me that the biggest reason these 3 shows were canceled was either because they couldn't get a toy sales license for the show, or the toy sales were low, which specifically for Symbionic Titan, I think is so dumb. It had 1 season, it didn't even give it a chance. And apparently, there were 10 episodes that were already in production and written before the show was canceled. Also, I guess Generator X's views were starting to decline, and so were the toy sales. In my own personal opinion, I also believe that Cartoon Network was starting to gear towards more brain rot and gimmicky cartoons like Teen Titans Go, or reboots of old shows. They really only care about kids, because who's going to get the most toys? Parents for their kids. Once you start to become a teenager or an adult, they're not getting as many toys. So I don't think they care much about the legacy of a show and trying to extend it with the generation that it grew up with. So realistically, these shows are probably not gonna air on Cartoon Network again, and maybe not even a streaming service. The only way I see it happening is if sequels are made from Adult Swim or HBO Max, which it could happen. Fiona and Cake was a little bit for the older side for sure, and so was the sequel to Samurai Jack. But to get there, we need the demand. Cartoon Network needs to see the demand for these IPs. So the most realistic way is fan projects, I think, and people starting to ignite the community. I've said it before and I'll say it again, but people like the Ink Tank. I really hope I get to do something like that at some point. And guys, this is like the tippity tip of the iceberg. There's so many more shows that I didn't mention just for time's sake. And maybe I spent a good amount of time explaining what the shows were, but for people who've never heard of them or never watched them or anything like that, I want to explain the premise around the shows to pique their interest. But that is the episode, guys. Thank you for watching very much. Comment down below your favorite forgotten cartoon and what cartoons I'm missing, or what you think about the shows I talked about. Thanks, guys. I'll see you in the next one.
Just come back for fun, because it's great being alive with you.
Good reason.